Yeah, and what you think is a bad idea might actually end up being a very good idea, because our best social video this year has actually been quite a silly idea of Sam running around the Boston Common dressed as Paul Revere, just yelling, "The state of video is coming." And that, it's funny, that concept probably came up as like, a bad idea, but then actually ended up translating both into the webinar and then other videos to promote. And then it just kind of kept being this running bit that has actually been much more successful than I think it originally thought it would be when we first thought of it.
That's incredible.
So you never know.
Hello, fellow marketers, leaders, and listeners. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Call to Action. I'm Janet Mesh, CEO of Aimta and host of the show, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tucker Delaney-Wynn, Director of Marketing Services at Aimta. You want to say, hey, everyone, Tucker, jump in.
Hello. Great to be here. And we have another exciting episode with not one, but two guests today, Sam Balter and Meg Dalessandro of Wistia. Meg and Sam, hello, welcome. How are you guys?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah,
Awesome.
excited to have this conversation.
Us too. We are pumped. It's long overdue. So, Meg, we'll start with you. Do you want to just kick us off with a quick intro, who you are and what you do at Wistia?
Sure. I'm on Wistia's content team where my role is a content producer. So I help run content programs from our webinar program, our reports, other sorts of assets that allow us to create offers that give people the opportunity to like submit into our content universe. And I work on Sam's team.
Awesome. Love it. So excited to talk to you. And Sam, over to you. What about you?
I manage basically Wistia's content. So that's everything of our webinars, our research, our guides, as well as our blog, and then kind of work a lot very closely with our creative and video teams on those campaigns as well.
They do it all, people. This is the team. Well, I would say that you guys are being very humble. We're so excited to have you. They're also the masterminds behind Wistia's annual State of Video report. So we're going to be dedicating this episode to really getting into the details, the weeds of it. We're very excited to hear from the experts and talk all things video marketing and production today. And if this is your first time tuning into Call to Action, or maybe it's been a little while since you've heard us chatting, just as a reminder, Call to Action, we analyze and discuss the latest research, tactics, trends, hot takes in B2B marketing. And then at the end of the episode, we'll give you like one, there's going to be a lot in this episode, but there will be like one takeaway from each of us that you can take and bring back into your market program. Make sure that you're really getting some actionable takeaways today. So we definitely have a lot to cover. And so I think we should just get into it if you guys are down. Sam and Meg and their team, they created the State of Video report, the 2026 one. They do it every year, right? You guys do this every year?
Yes, I think this is our 6th annual State of Video report. So we've been doing it for a little while now.
Hell yeah. And first off, this report is not a vibes report. Like there is real data in here. If you don't know Wistia too, they're a video hosting and video marketing platform. We are recording this episode in Wistia. So you're seeing, the true value of their platform. This company's been around for a long time. They've really been leading this space for forever. And as you can hear, they have 6 years of data. So we're going to be going into the 2026 content and just really understanding how they analyze 13 million in videos and 79 million hours of watch time. And it also includes surveys of over 1,000 marketers. So I think we're going to get into that. And we'd love to kick it off. I think what stood out to us, our clients, Tucker, are very much all over LinkedIn. We do a lot of work for them on LinkedIn. Video is a big part of that. So we were excited to see this in the report. Do you want to kind of bring us through from your perspective? And yeah, we'd love to hear, Meg and Sam, what you guys are seeing as well.
Yeah, LinkedIn's near and dear to my heart. We're talking to B2B marketers about B2B marketing. Obviously, LinkedIn's a huge channel, but to see in this report that LinkedIn is now the #1 video channel for B2B, and you have 8 out of 10 teams saying LinkedIn is their primary place to share videos. It even beats YouTube. And I actually pulled out a quote that I love that you guys had in here, which is that LinkedIn is not just where business videos get shared. It's also where they get discovered, repurposed, and amplified through paid ads. I'm paid ads guy, so I love to hear that. But yeah, Meg and Sam would love to hear from you guys on, number one, why do you guys kind of think this shift has happened? And what does it mean for marketers that LinkedIn is now the top sharing platform for video content?
I feel like it's a great topic. It's one of the ones that has gotten the most attention because it feels so off. It feels like LinkedIn is the video spot. But I think like from my perspective, the reason is because it's working. Like the number of marketers who are putting videos on LinkedIn and then getting the results they want is good. And it's happening fast enough where they feel that work happening. YouTube, you're building a channel, you're working on something, you're not going to get huge gains immediately, generally. Like you're going to have to work at it and you're going to have to build that channel. LinkedIn, like, although I'm not saying you should seek to go viral on LinkedIn or seek to try and like necessarily get the most impressions or views on your video, that does happen really frequently. Mm-hmm. And I also think when you look at LinkedIn versus something like Instagram or TikTok, a lot of B2B just doesn't want to make those types of videos. Like they want to spend a little bit more time. They want to get into esoteric, boring business topics that are really interesting to people on LinkedIn. And so it's like, finally, there's this match where there's enough content. The content is unique itself. And then LinkedIn is giving enough amplification to that type of content and targeting to that type of content that it's really working. And that's why you see marketers shifting over, is mostly because the results are there. Otherwise, I don't think they would be shifting as much.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I love what you said. It's where they can feel the results. That's so spot on. Like, oh, it's there, but I'm immediately seeing the numbers and seeing who is engaging. Yeah, I love that. And also that it's kind of like almost LinkedIn's like a safe space for B2B marketers to come and share the videos. That makes total sense. They're not trying to compete with the Gen Zs on TikTok. Greg, anything on your side of kind of how you are thinking about the shift and how you think marketers should think about LinkedIn as that top video platform?
Yeah, I remember seeing this data and doing a triple, maybe quadruple take, because being like, wait, is LinkedIn cool now? Like, is that why it's working? And I think what you just said about not competing with the Gen Z of TikTok, I think that is also why it's working, is because when you go on something like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook, if you're there with your parents or whatever, you are in a different headspace than when you're on LinkedIn. People go to LinkedIn for this type of content, the type of content that B2B companies are making. And so you're just hitting a way more targeted audience. So I think that's why we're also seeing that shift, is because people are getting smarter about what types of headspaces or vibe people are in when they're on certain platforms. And so I think LinkedIn is just that perfect garden of, content for people who are looking to learn about the types of products people are trying to sell there.
That's so interesting. I say the same thing about ads when I talk to people. Like, they're like, oh, should we do Meta for ads or TikTok? And I'm like, well, you could, but when people are on LinkedIn, they're more thinking about their own job. So if you're doing B2B, that's a good place to be. I love that. The other thing that I thought about too is on LinkedIn, you have the power to combine video with just super sophisticated job targeting. Mm-hmm. I don't think those other platforms really have the same ability to marry great creative with targeting that really gets to the level of their skills related to their jobs, their job function. So that just really enables really awesome ABM motions as well, where you're making sure that the exact right buyers you want to hit are seeing those videos. So I thought that was really cool too. Yeah. But Janet, I know you. Sorry, go ahead.
62%. Yeah, it's like the 62% of those folks you surveyed are using LinkedIn for paid video ads. So it makes a lot of sense, and we see that too. Like having video across every stage of like the life cycle of someone purchasing or doing research. Really, I think a lot of people are going on LinkedIn to do research as well, like kind of suss out what's the company, like who works there, what are they talking about. And video is a really great way to like put that in front of them and make it a much more accessible, that they feel like a kind of a quicker connection.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Prior to actually being at Wistia, I was way more in a video production role, and like very much editing the videos, producing the videos, and also advising companies on how to use video for their marketing. And one question I got over and over and over again, almost to your point of Tucker, of saying, should we be on Meta? Should we be on TikTok? It was, should we add X social platform? Like, should not literally X, but should we add this new social platform? And I think my response was always, is your community there already? Or are you building from the ground up? And I think that's something that, again, LinkedIn is doing really well, is that community is usually already bubbling there, and it's not like starting from a clean slate and having to build everything up. And so I just think that's another reason why LinkedIn video is just performing really well, is because that's where the community is at normally.
What a good question to ask when people propose ideas in general. Is your community there? Like, otherwise, we're going to be burning cash fast.
Yeah, it prevents it from being a subjective opinion of what we should do for the business and marketing versus like an objective one of like, here's the data that shows that they're actually not on Instagram, but they're over here, or vice versa. Even though I low-key feel like LinkedIn's just trying to become Instagram slowly.
Yes.
They're changing like the algorithm changed recently. We have the episode before this and call to action. We go into those algorithm changes, and one of them actually is for LinkedIn is they want people to share videos more with each other, like content or posts. That's actually or save content, and of course but actually I think a lot of people focus on like commenting. I know we're going to talk about this later, like of like kind of the AI swap conversation, but like they're definitely seeing there's a massive increase in like AI comments and all this. But if you're taking an actual action, that's what they're showing. They really want people to be like engaging to that level. So I know we have an entire section on like metrics and performance and what I just touched on. Before we get there though, one thing that stood out to me too in your report, which I found very interesting, because like where we're all talking was like, okay, you need to make sure that you're promoting this where your audience is. Mm-hmm. And you guys found in your data that most teams are spending more time creating video than promoting them. And I was like, that's really interesting. And it does make sense, but I'm curious, like, do you have any like personal opinions or kind of like a deeper insight into why there's less time dedicated to that distribution, or if like I just found that, I'll pull it up here, 57% more time creating than promoting, around 20%. And that really stood out to me as something that seemed kind of mind-blowing. Like, oh, wow, like people are spending a lot of time, but then they're not kind of, taking that content and disseminating it in the places where their audience is potentially.
For me, it like feels weird because of what you see. Like you see a lot of stuff that feels really low production. Somebody sitting at their desk, somebody walking around, whatever. Like it's just chill shot on iPhone content. You're like, why? How is this taking so long? Mm-hmm. But if you've actually filmed that, you've realized like a lot of chill walking around is walking up and down the same block like 12 times for like an hour to get that shot. And so like I think part of it is like, it seems shocking at first, but like videos do, even simple low production videos take a while to make. I also think that like people just like are able to do so much of the post-production promoting quicker now. And this is a number we sort of track a little bit since like last year. I asked a similar question within the report, and that number has gone down a little bit, like more time promoting this year than like previous years. If I
okay, cool.
Correctly. But it's like, I think a lot of that stuff now of like, you have a video and you need to get it into a different format. You need to get it into horizontal. You need to add bumpers. You need captions. You need social copy. You need to get it actually uploaded. You're moving a relatively heavy file around. Social person wants some sort of adjustment to this. Can we add a call to that? Can we add this? Can we add that? Can we edit that? And so I think like the post-production process, like the production process is longer than people think it is, even for simple stuff.
Oh yeah, totally.
The post-production process is getting a little bit quicker. And I think that's where a lot of people are seeing those gains. I need to turn this into a blog post. Turning video to blog post was huge pain in the ass. Way less of a pain in the ass now that you have like transcripts and AI tools and other things, and getting it up on, all these different social networks. That could have been a huge pain. Now you have MCP servers. Now you have things that can all connect together, and that process can get a little bit easier. So it's like, if me kind of guessing into the future, I would guess that this is going to be close to even next year. And then within 2 years, you will see like, it'll probably, I'm not sure where it'll be in 2 years. Like you're going to be spending way more time promoting, but I still think there's a lot.
And there'll be like a different problem where they're not spending enough time on creation, and it's actually probably not as high of quality because you're trying to just promote too much without the right content.
Yes, which is like what I worry about, like these whole conversations about endless clipping, like endlessly clipping things and turning thousands and thousands of clips. It's like, okay, well, this is not necessarily going to end well, having like 1,000 shitty clips, but that's a different point entirely. But yeah, it is a really interesting stat. I don't know, Meg, you've actually produced more videos and marketed it. So I would be curious from you as well.
Yeah. I think as a creative and, producer, like making the actual videos themselves, in the past, I would say before post-production became a lot faster with all the new AI tools and other workflows that you have available now, I would just get burnt out. You would spend so much time on creating the actual video. And maybe this is just my personal creative process, but whether it's a video, it's a painting, it's a writing piece or anything, I marinate on it for so long. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at this anymore.
I think I said that recently. Yeah. You spend weeks on it and you're like, all right, we're moving on.
Yes.
Totally.
Exactly. And I feel like marketers can definitely empathize with that feeling of I've worked on this campaign for so long that you even start questioning, is this even good anymore? And you're almost getting blind to it. And so that's where that post-production kind of falls flat, is because you're just kind of pushing it off to start in the next new exciting thing. So I think it's exciting to me as a producer to now have that not ending piece, but that post-production piece of getting it out to other teams and everything actually not only easier, but also easier to get other people involved in the process. So it's not all falling on me. Like I can have the social media manager just go in and make their own clips, or I can have someone who's writing a blog post. I can just hand off the transcript or they can even grab it themselves and then they can do it. So it's also enabling a lot of people who aren't necessarily video producers to become producers in their own right, to create whatever they need to, which has been really cool.
Yeah, and obviously we'll plug it. You can do all that in Wistia. That Meg
You sure can.
So can't miss that. So we talked about like LinkedIn, but what's interesting actually, I'm going to pivot us a little bit, move us a little forward. So I think what we're kind of getting into is like the video format, the content format. Like, what are you actually producing? Like, what are we talking about? And the types of videos where you guys surveyed, kind of the top 3 that companies are really focusing on are actually social videos was number 3. It seemed like, it wasn't too far off, but I thought that was interesting here. So we have educational videos, product videos, social media videos, and webinars. And we're definitely seeing this on Aimta side with our clients. This is like definitely where they're like really kind of investing as well. Definitely ads is still important, taking the content, making sure you're running some ads as well through video. But yeah, I was just curious what you guys make of this. Have you seen some like changes year over year? Or these been pretty much like kind of the main top spots? Curious, Meg, if you wanted to start, like kind of if you guys are seeing any kind of consistent trends here, if they're just kind of like the incumbent types of content that's being produced.
Yeah, I think regardless of what specific, if you even dial this even a little bit more specific of how long the video is or what channel you're putting it on and things like that, educational videos always have been, if not in the top spot, if they're always towards the top spot, because people don't want to waste their time. People want you to teach them something in whatever format that comes in. And I think if you can keep up, not just making things shorter, but keeping up the momentum of something is a lot easier when you're teaching something, because it's easy to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. And for someone to feel that gratification of, wow, I walked away from this video with something, either whether it's a next step or a new outlook on what I'm doing. I think educational videos will just continue to be in that top spot because it makes people feel like the video or the asset was really worth their time.
Like I did remember seeing a pretty precipitous drop in customer testimonials, customer stories.
I want to talk about that.
Yeah, like that drop was very, very real. That one was sort of gone down a bit. I think the other ones are pretty much the same. I mean, like those are usually holding like top spots, especially like product videos or something like that. But I'd say like company culture really dropped off. And then online courses like dropped down a little bit as well, if I remember, in terms of like total production of those. I think the thing that I even wonder about that previous chart is like, if I want to do this again, because I think like, I don't know if it's the same with you guys. People are asking lots of questions about what video types to make. And I feel like that question's sort of becoming more and more irrelevant because I don't even know how to categorize some of the content I see. You know, like I'll see a fire social video with dope animations and all this cool stuff going on, and it's a demo. You know, like
yeah, we call it product hype video. Actually.
Yeah, it's like a product hype video. Yeah. So it's like a lot of the stuff where it's like product hype videos used to be like text flying across the screen, no visuals of the product, and now it's like they're funny social videos shot outside. Like we have a integration with Webflow. There's a video coming out, and it's like somebody from our creative team driving around with a TV. You know, like holding a TV. It's like, that's sort of an announcement video. It's kind of a funny social video. It's a little bit of a product video. Like, I don't know if these categories are going to hold up over time, but I'd be curious from you all. Like, when clients ask, are they looking for this kind of stuff?
I mean, well, first of all, I have the same inclination, especially when I see social videos as its own category. I'm kind of like, aren't all of these potentially social videos? Like we could put any on social, right? So that's like where my head first goes is like that almost all of this to me social. And then on top of that, you can promote social and it becomes an ad. So I'm like, definitely see some overlap there. I don't get too many questions about what type of video we should make besides one that I was going to drill in on, which was webinars. And knowing that is still a top format. And I feel like there's still this like, I don't know, perception out there. I don't know if you guys get it, but that like webinar is like a dirty word or that like that's going to be drawn.
It's like too 2020 coded. I find. Right, but people are like, wait, what?
Do a webinar, but it's like, we're pretty far out of that and people are still into it. So I think that's a question that I do get of like, should we do webinars? And I almost always say yes. And it's so gratifying to see the data that actually backs this up. But that's maybe the one that I would maybe throw back at you guys of like, seems like webinars are still killing it. But is there anything that's changed there or that like you guys think has changed around how people are approaching webinars?
So yeah, I think when you're talking about how the word webinar triggers this weird feeling in people, it does have this corporate stink to it that makes people think, oh, we're too cool to run webinars. But when you think about a webinar as just a live stream, you can look at places like YouTube and Twitch where people are, millions of people are watching live streams. And it's all about how you approach that type of content and that live attention. And so I think people now are looking at webinars even more than they were back in 2020. I think in the report, we had a slide where it talked about the search term webinar in Google at the end of 2020 versus now. And I think it was 2 or even 4 times more popular now than it was back then. So even though I think there is this weird feeling around the word webinar, people are definitely still interested in them. And if you treat them like a true live stream, live event, and how rare that live attention is, you can really make the most out of them. And because most of them are usually a longer form piece of content, once you have that, you get a transcript and you can create so many different types of content from that. When you think about working, video first into those other pieces of content, it really is a gold mine of content to come.
I found just to reiterate what you're saying, Meg, I found it in your report. So it says, search interest in the word webinar recently climbed to more than 3 times its late 2020 baseline on Google Trends. And over half of folks hosting webinars started within the past 5 years. That's wild. So that means that people started more so. But it makes sense because everyone's like, oh my God, we have to do everything online.
I just thought it was going to come back.
Well. Same.
I thought webinars were on the decline. People were moving into more video. People were looking into YouTube. People were like, let's not do these. 2020, it's like everybody's got to go on webinars. And I thought the second people get back into events, webinars are going to go back on trend. But like they actually just became such a core part of so many people's businesses. I especially think like a lot of small businesses, a lot of mid-sized businesses that might have been nervous about running webinars were forced to try it. And now they're like, oh, do we keep doing this? Yes. Mm-hmm. And actually, we need to do this better. Now we can't just it has to be better than it was. So yeah, I do feel like it's it is a stink word. Like it's a seminar on the web. You know what I mean? Like that's where it's from. Like it's kind of a pretty junky one. But the thing this year, there was a part in the report, I can just share my screen because I'll show you the stat that like got me pretty like, wow, this is cool. But like, this is the engagement rate of your average webinar. And like the thing that's like really amazing to me about it is that it's like the kind of top blue line is like people who are logged into the webinar. This green line is people who are clicked on it, right? Like who are actually clicked on the webinar tab looking at it. And if we look at, because we have millions and millions of pieces of video and engagement data and stuff like that. If you have like a 3-minute video, right? You have like a 3 or 4 minute video. If you had a 50% engagement rate, you'd be like pretty stoked. Like that's a pretty solid engagement rate. If you get up to a 20-minute video and you have like a 30% engagement rate, like, damn, you're doing great. But you look at like webinars and it's like after 30 minutes, 60% of people are not just engaged, they're clicked onto the tab, looking at the thing, not doing another task on their computer. Like that is a hard engagement to get for any piece of content. For video, product, it doesn't matter. It just, if you think about it, like you're watching a long form video, how do you keep people's attention? That webinar format is just beating everything else by like such a large amount. And I think that part of it is like, for us, has made us think more about like, I am willing to spend more and more money and time on our webinars because I feel like I'm not getting this good of attention anywhere else. Like this is phenomenal attention levels that I'm getting in the room. Every lead is important. Every on-demand view there is going to be important. And so it's like, I'm just so keen as like, wow, webinars are a good format because the people are actually watching it. And that to me is like one of the stats where looking at it, I was like, damn, if this was just a 40-minute video, I'd be like yelling at everybody in the company that I'm the greatest video producer there's ever been. But like, as it's a webinar, everybody's like, oh, webinar, great. Everybody stayed till the end. That's cool. Saying, but you're like, okay, but if everybody stayed to the end of these other videos,
I wonder,
that would be amazing.
It'd be interesting to try to compare that to in-person events too, like someone showing up in person to a session, and because it's almost the same type of content, right? But I feel like we saw where people are still investing in webinars too, because, and you guys have this in the report too, that the video budgets are down overall in marketing, right? It's just companies everywhere. But when you're comparing a webinar production, even though there's going to be a cost associated to it, it's definitely much more affordable compared to like going to an actual like event or getting your people even to get picked to speak at an event. Like it's really competitive. And webinars gives us a really accessible way for a company to be like, all right, we're just going to own this ourselves. Like we're going to do it ourselves, and we're not going to be beholden to someone else to tell us if our content's good enough. Like we know it's good.
And it's funny too, like Meg and I were talking about this other webinar. I'll shout out to our competitors like Goldcast, On24, CNET. They're running a webinar that's called like a Webinar Palooza or a Webinar Fest type of thing. And I'm like, wow, they're basically just doing an event, like where you have all the competitor booths next to each other and you're just putting each other there. And I was like, that's a weird idea to me at first. But now I'm like, to your point, I'm like, oh, this is kind of modeling an after event. Like, might as well. Let's get let's co-market all this stuff together because like we would be paying for event space together as well. And that's not a problem, so I think it's something the more I do, as we do more and more webinars, as we keep scaling these up, I'm like, kind of like, oh, wow, there's a lot of possibilities for new formats, new things, stuff I haven't really like tried before.
That is so funny and cool. Yeah, like everybody should just be reaching out to their competitor and be like, want to do a webinar together?
Yeah. Why not? Like, it's like we be doing the same thing and paying tens of thousands of dollars for a booth and ending up in the same spot. But it's like we could do that for a fraction of the cost. And then you have a really interested, engaged audience. Like, it's not a bad idea. And so I'm like, I just see that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Cool to see.
Yeah. Well, on the engaged audience note, you guys were asking like the questions we get asked. And I get this question a lot of like, oh, we're getting this social engagement, or like, how do we bring this to sales? How do we give sales something to like take action on? And to me, webinars are so powerful for marketing sales alignment and for warming up leads for sales. It's one thing to take like, oh, this lead has been clicking our ads, or this lead has liked a social post, but to bring to a sales team like, hey, this person stayed for a 45-minute webinar, had the tab open, watching it the whole time. That's like, number one, obviously a very warm lead who truly actually is engaged with your brand and your company. And number two, it gives the salesperson a natural thing to outreach and talk about. They don't have to like invent like, hey, you want a Dunkin' Donuts gift card? They can be like, hey, you just like watched my webinar. Like, I'd love to hear your thoughts or get your feedback. So it just seems like a really great way to kind of unify marketing and sales as well, which I get fired up about. So.
Yeah, that's one where it's like, I see that a lot too, where it's like, I think there's a good degree also of like with webinars, you could utilize like kind of guilt and shame to your sales team, like in a certain way that's like very effective, because they'll be like, oh, I don't know, like, I don't know out of this list who's good. And it's like, well, this is what this person said in chat. They said, does your product do this? And then I explained it, and then you should follow up, and it's like, that used to be a very, very manual process, but those are things now where it's like, the leads flow in, the chat logs flow in. You just like type it into Claude or whatever, and you go like, did any of these questions seem like buying questions? Boom. All of a sudden now you have the list. Okay, narrow that list down and send it to sales as these are all high priority people. And it's like, you sort of start to limit those initial conversations that sales will have. That's like, but we don't like, or this thing. It's like, I'm not asking you to reach out to everybody. I'm just asking you to reach out to the people who said they want to know about the product. And it's like, great. Now everyone's happy. I'm only sending good leads. Everyone on the webinar is having a good time. And like sales is reaching out with like slightly or like better, like outreach, more thoughtful, can see what that person actually was interested in.
Yeah, you really don't want your salesperson like doing a generic demo either, like taking the time. Like that should be coming through the video or the webinar. Like that's the whole point of it, that they're like, you're skipping all that educational context that they need to show up to that conversation with sales to move them like taking pretty much 3 to 4 steps forward in the process, instead of being like, all right, let me explain everything you could have read or seen in this like 1-minute video. Sounds like you're nodding your head a lot, Meg. I'm curious your perspective of kind of this tangent we're going on.
Yeah, there's nothing I hate more than a really generic cold outreach from a salesperson. I avoid salespeople normally like the plague. They're all great, and I really admire their social battery capacity and just general motivation in face of projection. I couldn't do that role, so I really admire that. But when you were talking about using things from the webinar to actually inform sales on how to do things, and earlier when we were talking about making processes a lot easier, Sam alluded to this, like you can go through the chat or whatever, but we also have things like they answered a poll or they submitted a question during Q&A, and that can all flow directly into a CRM like HubSpot or whatever, and then even automatically send your salesperson a note saying, hey, this lead that's connected to this Salesforce account or whatever, like talked about this thing, like you should follow up. So that even just saves me, the producer, or Sam, the producer, time not having to comb through the list and say like, oh, we have like 300 chats, like which of these would be worth our time? So it's just another great time saver thing. And then again, it makes the sales experience just better from both the salesperson's perspective and the one receiving it.
Music to my ears, music to my marketing ops manager's ears too. I know she'll be watching this and be like, yes, route it to the CRM. That's what we need.
We touched on this very briefly at the beginning, but I know that's something we wanted to kind of hone in a little bit. What video or any content producer that doesn't talk about AI is probably even to get any traction. So you guys in the report actually stated that AI, like people who use AI are twice as likely to produce over 100 videos per year, which I was like, whoa, that's a lot. So I'm curious to hear like kind of your guys' opinion on what you're seeing of like, there are primary uses of how folks are using AI, definitely a lot on the pre-production side. But I think as you were alluding to, Sam, like there's just a lot more content getting repurposed. Like social clips are just like flying everywhere. Like I would love to just hear your perspective for both of you of like where does it make sense to use AI, and how should we approach using it to like avoid kind of creating that like AI slop or just generic content? So kind of a loaded question there, but curious what, based on the data and everything, what you guys are seeing and what you guys are tracking at Wistia.
Yeah, this is like twofold. Like we have the state of video report, and then we also did a report last year just on sort of AI trends in video, because we really wanted to like narrow that content out and really like dig in there. I feel like one of the things that I've seen, or feel like I'm seeing a lot, is that there are a lot of gaps in the video process, and different people are filling those gaps. And so it's like, I think we see a lot in planning and pre-production. And I was really confused by that, specifically like basically using ChatGPT for a lot of script writing and stuff. Talking with like our own video team, I'm like, how are you guys using it? Like, why are you using it? You know how to make videos. You make really great videos. And they're like, getting product information into a 2-minute script is a lot of work for me. And so like for them on the video side, they're using it as like, oh, let's condense this stuff down, write me a draft script, let's start working it out. And then they can shape it from there, because it's helping them get the main product points or the main things like that from large sort of product marketing docs. So it's like, okay, great. You see like a lot side, and then you see a lot on the like what I would say is like helping people repurpose and fix stuff, which is like the cutting and different versioning of stuff. But like, that's where I think that's like another marketer. That's a different person who might be running social, who's now like, oh, I don't know how to really make videos, but this is making my part of the video process a lot easier. So I think like it kind of depends on necessarily who you are. But I just was like very impressed to see the AI used throughout every part of the process. And then you see this variation of like, some people are using like Mid-Journey to synthesize whole scenes or creating like crazy things. Most people are using it for like transcripts, burned-in captions, and repurposing cuts. So it's like,
the stuff that took a lot of time, really, like very manual aspects of it, which makes sense to automate.
Yeah, like super manual
production process.
And I also think it's just something people weren't doing. Like people just weren't adding captions when they should add captions. Like they weren't adding subtitles when they should add subtitles. And so it's like a lot of that stuff, I think, is just better improvement on the like overall output.
Well, what are you seeing, Meg? Or like, how's your team been using it? Or are you seeing like customers kind of honing in? Or curious to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah, building off of what Sam just said about really depends on who you are and how you use AI. I think in any use case, depending on your role or whatever, it really helps to use AI as like that first draft or that first level. And then the human brain is really good at curating. So I wouldn't leave the curation of the taste of what you're sharing, or even like not just like the look and feel, but what you're actually getting through. Because AI is really great at spitting out 100 potentially mediocre to crappy clips. But truly, I don't believe you should have a 60-minute webinar and get 60 clips, because not every single minute of what you said is all that important. And if you think it is, then you're probably a little delusional. So I think it's really...
You guys are on the show, then every single minute.
Yeah, we try our best. So I just think that putting yourself in that curator's position is what I find to be the best way, whether you're drafting a script or you're creating clips or creating a blog post, even from a transcript, like getting that first draft. And even if the first draft sucks, which most of the time it kind of does, I find it as a creative a lot easier to start with something to react to. And sometimes I think a lot of marketing projects get stalled because of that initial step of creating the first draft or something. But I'm a big believer as a production person, whether I'm producing a webinar or anything else, is just giving that first draft to give people something to react to. And I would much rather put out a really crappy first draft and have everyone be like, this sucks. Like, and then I'm like, great, we're all in agreement. This sucks. What sucks about it? What do we want to make it better? And then that gets the conversation moving and keeps the marketing like flywheel continuing to go and a lot easier, and keeps like the wheels greased, so to speak. So that's kind of how I view using AI and in any part of the production or even content process.
Yeah. Humans love to give their opinion on what they don't like. So
Yes.
I love that.
It's so much easier, honestly. And I love that. Yeah. It honestly does move the conversation forward.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And then it gets a reaction, and then that sparks creativity. I'd be part of the brainstorming tactic of like only bad ideas. Have you ever done that one where you just only throw out bad ideas and then it just results in a good one eventually? But
actually, on my website, I collect bad ideas. I have a whole website page on my website dedicated to where you can submit really bad ideas.
I'll drop that in the show notes for sure. I'm going to do that right after this recording.
Designed page. It looks like it's from like Windows 98 purposely. It has like a custom cursor and stuff. It's very fun. And like terrible ideas like Tinder, but for fighting, or like fake nails, but for dogs, and like just like nothing to do with marketing. But I just truly think that's how we break through that creative block, is thinking through bad ideas, because it just gets your wheels turning.
Exactly.
If you
use AI for everything until let a human review anything.
You might be getting a flood of new bad ideas on that website.
I hope so. I hope to see some new
submissions.
Yeah.
Everyone listening is now going to click the link. Well, that's the only link they're going to click.
That's me. Back to the episode. Submit a bad idea to Meg's.
Amazing. Well, Meg, you said a word that I think we could drill into, is like the concept of creating a flywheel. And we're flying around this concept, and I want to like land on it now. And you guys are very much promoting at Wistia, like taking a video first approach to production and promotion. So I'd love to open that up to just kind of hear how you guys are thinking about that, how you even like approach what is like a video first mean, and how should companies start to like almost like it sounds like it might require changes to the way that teams work even. So I'd love to hear how you guys are doing that yourselves and encouraging clients to take this video first approach.
Yeah, I feel like with state of video for us is the one where that feels like one of the most video first approaches we do. Like we have this really, really big report, obviously, tons of data, surveying people, all this. But like what I'm thinking about a lot of is how is our webinar about this data going to go? And part of the reason is like the webinar a couple of years ago, we decided to move it and go 30 minutes pre-recorded content and then 30 minutes live Q&A. So like and basically we recorded as a news show with different segments and all this other stuff like that. And we're like very, very much thinking about the video, because the video, all of the animations, all the visuals around it, the way we talk on a video is one of the more straightforward ways we talk. Like we tend to just say things in the simplest way possible. Like that webinar is like, we are talking about it now. We're going to talk about the same thing in September, October, November, December. We are going to be using little clips from that video, putting it in places, embedding it in places. And so like for me, like another part of this is like, I run our guides, our webinars, and our blog. And when I look at our blog today, pages that have videos on them convert at about twice the rate that pages that don't have a video embedded on them. And so when I think about like a lot of our content, I think about it as like the big cluster of content. And when I think about big video assets like state of video, it's like I see that video driving the webinar, the on-demand version, the cluster of content around it. I expect all those blog posts to link back to the state of video report, which also has the state of video on it. And so like, it's one of those things for me where it's got this unique brand. We think about it really thoughtfully, and we know where all the content is going to go in a way that just was a lot harder when I was thinking about stuff from like writing the PDF and then going like, months later being like, shit, how am I going to make this into a video? Maybe the video is just going to be me scrolling through a PDF, like, I don't know, like maybe that's going to be it. But like, either way, I just think thinking about the video as that central asset that's going to feed other things has been a real like mindset shift for me as a marketer. And like the last thing I will say, or not last, but like the one thing I'll say about this as well is like, for us, Wistia has always been a tough company because people look at us and they're like, you have a studio. Like I'm sitting in a studio with a green screen and this is one of our 2 studios. And a lot of this video stuff, first stuff has felt a little inaccessible to smaller businesses. They've been like, we don't have video people. We don't have fancy cameras and stuff like that. We don't have editors that can edit all of these things in the same levels that you do. This isn't for us. But now when I'm thinking about it as like a lot of our videos are shot on iPhone, a lot of our videos are shot outside. Like a lot of these things are shot in other areas. And so to me, that sort of starting production point is cheaper. That editing point is cheaper. And because of those 2 things, you can just sort of move it to a different part of the process for like a lot lower risk. So that's like when we talk about video first, it's not just like thinking about like the video as the central thing, but it's really like, how does this campaign start with a video? And then what are all the assets that come out of that video? And so I think that's been like a big sort of brain shift for me when I talk about like that video flywheel or video first content.
Yeah, and I think this topic actually came up for Sam and I once when we were just having a one-on-one talking about like, do you remember when most marketers would just be writing a blog post and then you'd be like, oh shit, I need to make a video now. So now I'm just going to, I guess, take each section of this blog post and those will be my talking points. And so I think that's actually a lot harder to do and actually a lot harder to translate it from written voice, blog voice to then video than vice versa. Because like Sam said, how you write on a blog is not usually as in much of a plain language than what you're hearing out loud. And there's been so many times where I write a script and I'm in my head and I'm writing it. And then I go to say it out loud and I'm like, I would never say that. I would never say it like that. What am I thinking?
Right.
And so I think that also just allows us other pieces of content to flow so much easier because you've already done some of the more mental gymnastics to make that topic more accessible.
You're also spending a lot of time early on with anyone like within your company that needs to approve the concept, the topics, like what you're actually going to be promoting. So that saves you time, like through the production process, post-production process, later on of when you're like starting to create all this other content around it. It's like, it's already been pre-approved. Like you don't need to send it back to, whomever in the leadership chain to like go look at it again because they already approved it, right? It's like, okay, we have what we need, like the source materials there that we can now be equipped to just like run with this and not have to have this like daisy chain of, feedback and approvals every step of the way, which I think it's an interesting concept because it's not just on the like production distribution side, but also like the internal operations of how you're doing this as well. That's like where my mind goes too. Like you're kind of getting everyone buy-in early on and you're not spending all this time producing a video and then someone's like, what is this? I don't like it. And everyone's like, we just spent 6 weeks on this. What do you mean?
Yes. And the creative concepts are great. Like it's like when you're pitching a blog post, people are like, yes, make it educational and thoughtful. But like a video, you're might be swinging a little bit harder. You might be going for something a little bit bigger. So like getting that approved, is like makes every downstream decision easier.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think for the audience, it's like really think of this as like a flywheel. It's like get that, put the effort into the video. And then, but to your point, Sam, I really like how you're like, don't overthink it though, as well. Like just start shooting, start producing, start creating, and just get some momentum behind it. I think is a big part of kind of getting over that, like the creative block or the fear of what it's going to be, like just kind of evolves. Then you can spit some bad ideas to Meg when you're feeling a little concerned.
Yeah, and what you think is a bad idea might actually end up being a very good idea because our best social video this year has actually been quite a silly idea of Sam running around the Boston Common dressed as Paul Revere, just yelling, the state of video is coming. And that, it's funny, that concept probably came up as like, a bad idea, but then actually ended up translating both into the webinar and then other videos to promote. And then it just kind of kept being this running bit that has actually been much more successful than I think it originally thought it would be when we first thought of it.
That's incredible.
So you never know.
Did you have so in Boston? I'm here in Boston, and we have something called the Freedom Trail. For those of you that don't know about it, and it's a tour you can take of American Revolution history all through Boston. So were people confusing you, Sam, as a Freedom Trail
People
leader.
definitely thought I was one of the historical actors. But I'm like holding, like I have like the microphone on and I'm riding a wooden horse. And obviously I have like a beard and glasses, so I don't really look like that. And it's like an Amazon $15 costume or whatever. So it wasn't really like that high quality, but I took pictures with some people.
That's amazing.
So that was like pretty hilarious.
It just seems like this was a really powerful video. And if this is going to be a yearly thing and you're looking for like revolutionary background extras,
We're local.
I will fight for you. You know, I'll hold up
Full
lantern.
disclosure, we did not plan this whatsoever.
So, yeah,
I love that you got a trifold.
Just so you know, if it's needed.
You have another one in your back pocket, don't you, Tucker?
I did, yeah. You want to go international? We got the beret for when I'm doing my deep work over here. Yeah, and then I think my last one is I've got a witch hat.
You got like the bro hat.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, is that a witch hat? Oh,
There's a witch-
damn.
yeah, I think it's my wife's witch hat. So yeah, that's available too in case you change themes. Really just pitching myself as an extra for Wistia video. So yeah.
Noted.
great.
Thank you.
Wow.
I love a costume change.
Me too. You know, who doesn't? Yeah, we're all theatrical.
We all wear many hats. You're just actually has access to
I
them.
had to bust out the tri-corner because I didn't even know that was the case. So,
It's amazing.
I love it. I was going to ask about metrics and ROI because that was one thing that I feel like rounding out the campaign side.
We want to be pegged as, the art department that never talks about the value of what we're creating. So we should go there.
One that comes a lot across my desk is like, okay, you did this whole thing, but like, what does it mean for me, the marketer or the leadership team or the sales team? Like, how do we know it's working? And how do I know that, like, how can I prove that video is influencing our audience, influencing pipeline? Those are some of the questions that we often get. And I think the other thing that's been on my mind a lot lately is I'm thinking about the word signals and a signal of intent and signal of engagement. I know part of the report was just that social engagement has nearly doubled as a success metric. So maybe that's part of it. But I guess overall, I'd love to just open up and ask you guys kind of what are some of the metrics that you guys think marketers should actually be tracking and focusing on to really prove that video is having some sort of influence, ideally on pipeline, but at least is really working and at least a leading indicator? Are there any that you really advise folks to focus on?
Yeah, Meg, you want to take this one to start?
Yeah, to your point of social engagement, I think that was a surprising thing to us too, because you used to look at video success as just a video got tons of views. And it didn't really matter as much if it got a bunch of likes or comments because the views was the big number. And like views were everything. Whereas now a video can get less views, but if it's getting a lot of really thoughtful comments, not AI bot comments, not just like fire emoji or whatever, but an actual comment talking about what you're talking about in the video or engaging or asking a question or really starting a discussion under that topic, that is so valuable because it's telling you that your content or whatever you're talking about is truly resonating. And so I think people are starting to pay more attention to the likes and the comments a lot more than the actual just overall view number.
What we were talking about before, what you said, Sam, of like guilt and shame as a mechanism with the sales team. And especially as we do thought leader videos that feature sales reps, if we do a video of them and then there's a comment from a prospect, screenshotting that and be like, hey guys, this is a pretty good signal of maybe reaching out too. So it doesn't always have to be some fancy routed thing to the CRM that notifies the sales team and can give me like, hey, somebody's commenting, you might want to follow up with them. But yeah, is there anything else, Sam, on your side?
Yeah, I feel like for me, like this is something that I like proving that marketing is working, whether you're on the blog, the video, ebooks, brand, like it's always something that we're dealing with as like a constant problem or constant thing. And the way people just consume stuff is shifting. Like as somebody who manages the blog, it's like a lot of our blog is showing up in AI answers. That screws up tracking. That messes up how I had things before. So I always think that there's going to be some level of tracking where you're like, this is a shifting sands world. Like people are using ad blockers or not using ad blockers, or Google changed something or it didn't change something. Like all that stuff is like going to factor in. But when I think about like video broadly, I think like a lot more education is happening outside of your website. It's a lot of your website is a lot of people are getting educated about your company on social or on Reddit before they go to your website. They're not necessarily going to your company website to learn about the product for the first time, or even to understand your company culture or what your company is about for the first time. Like, they are learning all of that through LLMs, through social areas more than before. And so that's why, like, one of the things I'm really keen on is this idea of like video does a really good job at increasing conversions. Like, I talked about it on the blog, where when I look at our blog post with videos, they have longer time on page, they have lower bounce rate, they have twice the level of conversion on them. When I think about like webinars, which are hosted on your site, I mean, they could be simulcast other places, but like webinars are a conversion action. You're sitting there, you're trying to move people like through the funnel. And so when I think about a lot of things for video, I think you would be hard pressed, I think, for a lot of companies to put a video on a page and that page doesn't do better. Like, if you have a video on your homepage and that video does a great job of explaining your product and it says demo, free trial, start now, you're going to likely get more clicks on that button after you put the video on it. You're going to likely get more registrations. We've seen this with some of our own webinars. You're going to get more registrations for some webinars if you have a video explaining what's going to be in the webinar. We're going to cover this, this, and this. I'm really excited for it. Just sign up here. This is what you can do beforehand. If it's blog post, if it's product pages, if it's video pages. So to me, it's like, I think when you're looking at ROI, there's a lot of stuff you can get from signals of the video. Who's watching them? Are they moving down the funnel? But then you can also just look at the before and after of when you placed a video on a website. How was the website converting before? How did it convert after you added the video? Like, even with our own showing, I think it's like around 30% or so of companies that we surveyed like had a video on their homepage. Very few people are putting on blog post. Very few people are putting, like, they have some on product pages. So I think like there's just a lot of companies out there where they're like, I don't know if this is going to work. And it's like, well, just run the experiment before, after, add video and see what the difference is. And I think most people would be hard pressed to find that they would get lower conversion rates adding videos to their website. And so like that would be my thing, is for people who are hesitant about it or wondering about it, shoot for something on your website, benchmark it before the video, and then make that one change of adding a video and see if that is making a meaningful change in your metrics.
Yeah, love that. Can we just clip that and put that on our video page?
And then it has a follow with Sam and Tucker running through Boston.
Just trifolds all day.
Yeah, trifold, get up.
I love it.
Put it on your website.
But attribution does. I feel like, Janet, you've talked about that for a lot.
We need an entire episode dedicated to this. Yeah, it's like what you're saying, Sam, is there's so many different ways and channels and places where one, your brand showing up, but also where your audience and customers are consuming and looking and researching. So you can't just pinpoint it to one thing. It's everything in aggregate. And it's not going to be like, oh, there's also this one point in time. It's like, okay, we set this up and, we started in May, ran through October, and this in aggregate is like how much we saw, or even just like a month at a time. You can even do it like that, that simple of a test, like you're saying, but it's not in terms of it was exactly this, landing page with this thing and that, because we haven't even been able, we're not gonna have time to go into this, but like what we're talking about is like, there's this like dark social, dark community side of research and marketing where people are getting a lot of this information. They're doing their own research before they're even making a contact. So someone actually submitting a form or like showing interest, there was a touch point before that was the true attribution of that contact, right? That was just the action's actually not the attribution.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's like, it's going to change. Whatever you're tracking is going to change like in a little while. So that's why it's like I pick the page as like, I don't care. Whatever your attribution window model is, whatever you look at it, just add a video before it and afterward, or add a video after and see if it got better. And like, if that got better, great. I'm pretty confident it will.
Well, we covered a lot today. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Sam, for joining us. This is incredible. And you guys are doing some really impressive work over at Wistia and all the content you're producing. So definitely for our audience to check it out. So we're going to move into our final segment, and we'll all share our one call to action for the audience today. So you can take a moment to think about it. But if you have one, jump in. If Meg or Sam, you want to kick in, we covered a lot. So if there's just one thing that you want people to walk away from today to put into action, what is it?
I would say don't waste people's time. I think people think that means it needs to be shorter, it needs to be faster, it needs to say less, but that really isn't the case. I think good content with good momentum that's actually moving, whether it's an emotion, an action, a thought, or a question forward, really allows people to stick around. And so don't be afraid of those longer formats, whether it's a webinar or a video that's more than the 20, 30 seconds you see on TikTok or whatever. As long as you're really bringing that person through a journey and they're leaving changed and like you didn't feel like you wasted their time, you're teaching them something, it's worth it.
For me, I'm going to go for a call to action for people who are a little bit nervous about making video. And I'm going to say, if you are a little bit nervous, if you're a little bit nervous about editing, go big on an internal update. Just instead of use an AI editor tool, use ridiculous animations, use these things that are so easy to do in a really low stakes way of you got to give an update about content. You want to talk about performance over this, and it would normally be a slide deck. Try just for once dropping a short 2-minute video in and just use these new AI editing tools that are out there. Use these things that you could do to make stuff fun. Try writing the scripts with AI, because I found that I'm so judgy of other people's marketing that I'm sometimes held off from putting video content out there. Internal company stuff, internal updates, that's a really safe space to try this stuff out, get confident doing it. And I'm sure that your coworkers, other people you work with will appreciate it, because it's a very nice thing to get video updates. It's very low stakes, and it's something that everybody can do. And it's going to start shifting your brain of if I could do this for internal updates this easily, imagine what we could do for fun marketing or other things like that. So that would be my for call to action.
Amazing. Tucker, what's yours?
I'm going to kind of take one that Sam earlier said. I feel very inspired by. Add a video to one of your website pages. Maybe go to your YouTube channel and see what your best performing video is. And then if it's not on your website, figure out the best page to put it on and put it in there. And then do a little attribution window of how did it perform before and how did it perform after. But actually, if I could sneak in a second action item, which is to definitely submit a bad idea to Meg's website, I'm going to be doing that. And I'm just really excited to go there too. So
Man, we're going to get flooded tonight.
I hope so.
That's my goal. Jenna, what about you?
I'm going to go with, so my call to action to those listening is taking a look at your video production process and marketing strategy and identifying how you can update a campaign or a program or do some sort of experiment to do video first. Start with the video and then from there build out the rest of the content. I think it's going to kind of force a lot of teams to think about not just the production and distribution process, but also how teams are working together. Who do we need to bring in earlier on? And just kind of really, I think people will get a lot of efficiency gains from that. We see that at Aimta. You guys are seeing that at Wistia, and I think any company that's getting on board with this new approach is definitely gonna reap the benefits. Thank you again for joining us. It's so wonderful, Meg and Sam, to talk with you. Just learn all the things on video marketing production, things to do, to not to do. So we'd love to hear from our viewers, our listeners. Let us know, let the Wistia team know, how are you approaching video production and marketing? What's working, what's not, what's surprised you so far this year? And yeah, just let us know, what are you taking action on? What are you learning? And I think the final call to action, of course, is if you do one thing, download the 2026 Wistia State of Video report. Like we shared some of this in here, but it's like a 65-page report. It's absolutely insane. It's like chock full of so much that we couldn't cover in an hour, if you can believe it. Their team also did a video on the report, as Sam mentioned, so take a look at that as well. So yeah, be sure to comment, engage, subscribe, take a look at Wistia, and yeah, thanks again everyone for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.